The Book of Colossians. Colossians chapter 1. He is the head of the body, the church. Introduction. The chapter begins with Paul's greeting and thanksgiving for the Colossians' faith, and is followed by a prayer for their spiritual growth. The next section highlights the preeminence and supremacy of Christ, emphasizing his role in creation, redemption, and reconciliation. Paul then emphasizes his role as a servant, proclaiming the mystery of Christ to the Gentiles. The chapter concludes with a call to steadfastness and a reminder of the transformative power of the gospel. Exegesis by sections and verses. Verses 1 to 8. Paul introduces himself as an apostle, which simply means to be sent by Jesus. He includes Timothy in his greeting. He expresses gratitude to God for the faith, love, and hope exhibited by the Colossian believers. Paul commends Epaphras, a fellow servant of Christ, for his ministry among the Colossians. Verses 9 to 14. Paul prays fervently for the Colossians, asking God to fill them with the knowledge of his will, wisdom, and spiritual understanding. He desires that they live worthy lives, bearing fruit and growing in the knowledge of God. Paul acknowledges God's work in rescuing believers from darkness and bringing them into the kingdom of Christ, emphasizing redemption through his blood, and the forgiveness of sins. Verses 15 to 23. This section reveals the exalted position of Christ. Paul describes Jesus as the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. He asserts that everything was created through Christ, and for Jesus, highlighting the preeminence of Jesus. Paul further explains that Christ holds all things together and is the head of the church. He emphasizes Christ's role in reconciliation, stating that through his blood shed on the cross, believers are reconciled to God. Paul presents himself as a minister, sent to proclaim this message. Verses 24 to 29. Paul shares his sufferings and the purpose of his ministry, explaining that he fills up what is lacking in Christ's afflictions for the sake of the church. He declares the mystery that was hidden, but has now been revealed, that is, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Paul's mission was to present everyone mature in Christ, warning and teaching them, with all wisdom. Verses 30 to 23. Paul concludes the chapter by exhorting the Colossians to stand firm and not be swayed by false teachings or worldly philosophies. He assures them that he is laboring, striving, and struggling for their spiritual well-being. Paul affirms that the gospel they have received is the truth, bearing fruit and growing everywhere, in the whole world. The chapter ends with a mention of Paul's co-workers and a final greeting. Overall summary. Colossians 1 presents the overarching theme of the supremacy of Christ, both in creation and redemption. It emphasizes the preeminence of Christ as the image of God, the creator of all things, and as the head of the church. The chapter highlights the power of the gospel to bring about forgiveness, reconciliation, and transformation in the lives of believers. Paul's prayer for the Colossians reflects his desire for their spiritual growth and their steadfastness in the faith.